The desperate called Ilara Voss pressed her six-fingered hand against the observation deck's crystalline window, watching the stars that had been her companions for the past 3 years aboard Research Station Harmony. The Zephyrian scientist had dedicated her life to studying cosmic phenomena from this remote outpost in the Kepler sector, far from her homeworld's purple skies and floating cities. Her delicate, blue-tinted skin reflected the soft glow of distant nebulae as she worked late into the station's artificial night cycle. The peaceful silence of space research was shattered by an alarm that made Ilara's elongated ears twitch with fear. Red lights bathed the observation deck as the station's AI announced in its calm, mechanical voice, unknown vessels detected, multiple contacts approaching at high velocity. All personnel report to emergency stations. Ilara's heart began racing as she rushed toward the command center, her lightweight frame moving with the characteristic grace of her low-gravity species. Through the corridors, she passed other researchers and technicians, their faces showing the same mixture of confusion and growing dread. Station Harmony was a peaceful research facility, home to scientists from 12 different species working together to unlock the universe's mysteries. They had no enemies, no valuable resources worth stealing, no reason for anyone to attack them in the command center. Station Commander Terex stood before the main display screen, his reptilian features tight with concentration. The Saurian officer had served in the Galactic Confederation Navy for decades before accepting this quiet posting, thinking his fighting days were behind him. Now, as he studied the tactical readout, his old combat instincts were awakening to a nightmare scenario. "Commander, what are we facing?" Ilara asked. Joining the small crowd of senior staff gathered around the central console, Terex's scaled fingers moved across the control surface, enhancing the sensor display. 15 heavy cruisers, 40 destroyer-class vessels, and at least 60 support ships. Conflagration matches Vorak Syndicate designs. His voice carried the weight of someone who understood exactly what this meant. The Vorak Syndicate was known throughout the galaxy as the most ruthless organization of pirates, slavers, and mercenaries. They didn't just rob their victims, they captured entire populations to sell in the black markets of the Outer Rim. Their reputation for cruelty was matched only by their effectiveness in warfare. No one had ever successfully resisted a full syndicate assault. But why would they come here? Asked Dr. Kemnath, an elderly crystalline whose transparent body was flickering with nervous energy. "We have nothing they could want." Ilara felt a chill run through her as understanding dawned. The quantum resonance research, my team's breakthrough last month. She turned to face the others, her large eyes wide with realization. "We cracked the fundamental equations for faster-than-light communication without relays. If they get that data, double quotes, they could coordinate their fleets across the entire galaxy." Terex finished grimly. "No more communication delays, no more isolated targets. They could become unstoppable." The first Vorak ships came into visual range, their dark hulls bristling with weapons that could reduce Station Harmony to debris in minutes. The lead vessel was massive, a command dreadnought that dwarfed anything the peaceful research station could hope to resist. As they watched, smaller craft began launching from the Vorak ships, troop transports heading straight for the station's docking bays. "All hands, this is Commander Terex." His voice echoed through the station's speakers. "We are under attack by hostile forces. This is not a drill. All combat-capable personnel report to defensive positions. All others move to the central core and prepare for possible evacuation." But even as he spoke, Everyone knew there would be no evacuation. Station Harmony's few small shuttles couldn't carry even a fraction of the 800 researchers, technicians, and support staff aboard. The station's defensive systems were designed to handle space debris and the occasional pirate scout, not a full syndicate armada. Ilara found herself in the communication center, where Chief Operator Vex was frantically sending distress signals across all known frequencies. The insectoid being's multiple arms worked with incredible speed, broadcasting their situation to anyone who might listen. "Any response?" Ilara asked, though she already knew the answer from Vex's drooping antennae. "The nearest Confederation patrol is 6 days away," Vex clicked in the rapid speech of his species. "Local trade routes have been warned, but no one has forces capable of confronting a full syndicate fleet. We are alone." Through the command center's main screen, they watched Vorak boarding craft attached to the station's outer hull. Cutting tools began slicing through the reinforced barriers, and within minutes, armed syndicate troops would be pouring into their home. The Vorak were tall, muscular beings with grey skin and red eyes that seemed to glow with perpetual anger. They showed no mercy to those who resisted and little kindness to those who surrendered. Commander Terex activated the station's internal defenses, sealing blast doors and activating security barriers, but everyone knew these measures would only buy them time. The station's small security force was trained for emergencies and minor conflicts, not warfare against professional soldiers. "Keep broadcasting," Ilara told Vex, placing a gentle hand on the communication officer's carapace. "Someone might hear us. Someone might come." As if responding to her words, Vex's equipment detected an incoming transmission on a frequency none of them recognized. The signal was strong, clear, and coming from somewhere in the direction of Sol System, a small stellar cluster on the galaxy's outer rim that most civilized species considered barely worth noting. "Unknown vessel, this is Research Station Harmony." In the Kepler sector, Vex transmitted immediately. "We are under attack by Vorak syndicate forces. 800 civilians aboard, requesting immediate assistance." The response came quickly, in accented but clear galactic standard, "Station Harmony. This is Captain Marcus Chen aboard Terra Station. We have received your distress call. What is your tactical situation?" Terra Station. None of them had heard of such a vessel, and the name suggested it belonged to one of the newer species, possibly one that hadn't yet made contact with the broader galactic community. But any help was better than none. "Captain Chen, we are facing approximately 115 hostile vessels," Terex responded, taking over communications. "Heavy assault configuration. They seek to capture our research data and personnel. Our defenses are minimal. Estimated time before station capture is 30 minutes. There was a brief pause before Chun's voice returned, carrying a tone that somehow managed to be both calm and deadly serious. "Understood, Commander. We are dispatching assistance. Hold your position and protect your people. Help is coming." The communication ended, leaving the command center in stunned silence. In the tactical display, they could see no new contacts, no approaching vessels that might represent rescue. Yet something in that human voice had carried absolute certainty, as if stating a simple fact rather than making a promise 20-7 light-years away. Captain Marcus Chen stood in the command center of Terra Station, humanity's first deep space outpost. The massive structure orbited just beyond Pluto, serving as both an early warning system and humanity's primary launch point for exploration missions. Chen was a veteran of Earth's corporate wars. A man who had seen the worst of human conflict and emerged with an unshakable belief in doing what was right, regardless of the cost. "Signal all ships," Chen ordered, his weathered face set in determined lines. "Activate Protocol 7. This is not a drill." Around him, his staff moved with practiced efficiency, but he could see the surprise in their eyes. Protocol 7 had never been used, existed only as a theoretical response to extreme crisis. It called for the immediate mobilization of every human vessel capable of faster-than-light travel, regardless of their original mission or current location. Lieutenant Sarah Kowalski, Chun's tactical officer, looked up from her console with concern. "Sir, we're talking about 115 hostile vessels. Our entire fleet consists of 43 ships, most of them exploration or cargo vessels. The odds are irrelevant," Chen interrupted firmly. 800 innocent people are about to be enslaved or killed. We're the only ones in range to help them. That makes it our responsibility. Across the solar system, red lights began flashing in hidden facilities and disguised installations. Ships that appeared to be mining vessels powered up military-grade engines. Cargo haulers revealed weapon systems disguised as industrial equipment. Research ships activated shields that belonged on warships. Humanity had learned from its violent history, and they had come to space prepared for the worst. Within 2 hours, 38 human vessels had formed up around Terra Station. They weren't the sleek warships of advanced galactic civilizations, but they were built by a species that had survived ice ages, world wars, and the colonization of hostile worlds. Every human ship was designed to function in conditions that would destroy vessels from more peaceful species. "All ships, report ready," Kowalski announced. "Jump, coordinates locked in." Chen looked at the display showing their modest fleet, then at the intelligence data about the Vorak force they were about to face. By any reasonable calculation, they were flying toward certain destruction. But Marcus Chen had been born on Mars, raised in the asteroid belt, and trained in the crucible of human expansion into space. Reasonable had never been humanity's strongest quality. "Signal to fleet," he ordered. "We jump in 5 minutes. Remind all captains that we're not going there to fight a war. We're going to save lives. Everything else is secondary." As the human fleet prepared to make the jump to hyperspace, Captain Chen opened a private channel to Terra Station's communication array. "Get me a direct line to Research Station Harmony," he commanded. When the connection was established, he could hear the sounds of battle in the background, energy weapons firing and structural damage alerts blaring. "Commander Terex, this is Captain Chen. We are en route to your position. Estimated arrival in 4 hours. Can you hold that long?" Terex's voice was strained but determined. "We will try, Captain. Thank you for coming. But I must warn you, you may be flying into a situation beyond your capabilities." Chen smiled grimly as he watched his fleet's engines flare to life. "Commander, you might be surprised what humans consider possible. Hold the line. We're coming." The human ships vanished into hyperspace, carrying with them the hopes of 800 strangers and the determination of a species that had never learned when to quit. Behind them, Earth continued its slow rotation, unaware that its children were about to announce humanity's presence to the galaxy in the most dramatic way possible. On Research Station Harmony, Vorak troops had breached the outer sections, and the sound of combat was growing closer. But somehow, the knowledge that help was coming gave the defenders new strength. They had no idea what humans were capable of, but they were about to find out. The galaxy was about to discover why Earth was classified as a death world, and why its inhabitants had earned their place among the stars through courage, ingenuity, and an absolute refusal to abandon those in need. The Vorak Syndicate thought they were conducting a simple raid on a defenseless research station. They were about to learn the true meaning of human intervention. The human solution for hours had passed since Captain Marcus Chen's promise, and Research Station Harmony was dying. The Vorak Syndicate had methodically carved through the station's defenses, turning corridors into battlefields and laboratories into prisons. Dr. Elara Voss crouched behind an overturned desk in what had once been her quantum research lab, listening to the heavy footsteps of Vorak soldiers searching the nearby sections. Commander Terex's voice crackled through her personal communicator. All remaining personnel, fall back to Section C7. We've lost the outer ring entirely. The reptilian commander had fought valiantly, but his small security force was no match for professional syndicate troops. They were down to their final defensive position, with nowhere left to retreat. The Vorak had been efficient and ruthless. Rather than simply destroying the station, they had systematically captured key personnel, especially the scientists whose knowledge could prove valuable. Elara knew that her quantum communication research made her a primary target. She had already destroyed her primary data cores, but the Vorak would torture the information from her if they caught her alive. Suddenly, the station's lights flickered, and every Vorak weapon, communicator, and scanner went dead simultaneously. The electronic warfare systems that the Syndicate relied on simply stopped functioning, as if some invisible force had reached out and switched them off. In the confusion that followed, Elara heard something impossible. Human voices speaking, in calm, professional tones. Section A12 clear. Moving to A13 confirmed. Charlie team has secured the primary data core. Negative on civilian casualties in this sector. Medical team standing by. Through her lab's damaged window, Elara saw something that made her question her own senses. Humans in dark armor were moving through the station corridors with impossible speed and coordination. They weren't running or shouting like the Vorak. They moved like shadows, appearing suddenly behind enemy positions, neutralizing threats with precise efficiency, then vanishing before reinforcements could arrive. One of the humans appeared at her lab entrance, and Elara found herself looking into eyes that seemed to hold both gentleness and absolute determination. The human was smaller than a Vorak warrior, but there was something about his presence that made him seem larger than the armored giants they had been fighting. Dr. Voss, he asked in accented but clear Zephyrian. I'm Sergeant Rodriguez, Earth's Special Forces. We're here to get you home safe. How did you know my name? Elara whispered, still not quite believing that rescue had actually come. Rodriguez helped her to her feet with surprising gentleness. Captain Chen made us study everyone aboard this station. We don't leave people behind, especially ones working to make the galaxy a better place. He activated his communicator. Package secured. In Lab 7, escorting to safe zone now. As they moved through the corridors, Elara saw the results of human intervention. Vorak soldiers lay unconscious but alive, their weapons disabled rather than destroyed. Where she had expected to see battle damage, she found that the humans had somehow neutralized their enemies without causing significant harm to the station itself. It was surgical precision on a scale she had never imagined possible in the main docking bay. She found Commander Terex coordinating with a human officer who wore the insignia of a fleet admiral. The woman was tall for a human, with graying hair, and eyes that seemed to take in everything at once. Her presence commanded immediate respect from both species present. Admiral Torres Terix was saying, "Your people have accomplished what should have been impossible. How did you neutralize an entire syndicate fleet?" Admiral Sarah Torres smiled with satisfaction. "Commander, the Vorak make the same mistake. Most aggressive species they assume that advanced technology and superior firepower automatically equal victory. They never considered that some problems require creative solutions rather than brute force." Through the docking bay's main windows, Ilara could see the Vorak fleet hanging motionless in space. Their ships were intact but clearly disabled, drifting like sleeping giants among the stars. Around them, human vessels moved with purpose, but their designs were unlike anything she had ever seen. They looked more like industrial equipment than warships, with mining arrays and construction equipment prominently displayed. "We hit them with something they'd never encountered before," Torres explained, noticing Ilara's confusion. "Coordinated electromagnetic pulse weapons disguised as asteroid mining equipment. Our ships pretended to be a commercial mining operation until we were in optimal position. By the time they realized what we actually were, their entire fleet was dead in space." Captain Chen's voice came through the communication system. "Admiral, we have a problem. The Vorak are threatening to execute the hostages they captured from the outer sections unless we withdraw immediately." Torres's expression hardened. "How many?" 143 civilians, including 26 children. The Admiral was quiet for a moment, and Ilara could see her mind working through the tactical possibilities. This was the nightmare scenario that had driven the Syndicate's success for decades. They would capture innocents, then use them as shields to force their enemies into impossible choices. Admiral Terix said quietly, "The Galactic Confederation has protocols for this situation. The acceptable loss ratio for hostage situations is irrelevant," Torres interrupted firmly. "Sergeant Major Lopez, are your infiltration teams in position?" A voice crackled back immediately. "Yes, ma'am. We've identified all hostage locations. Ready on your command." "Captain Morrison, how are those conversion protocols coming?" Another voice responded. "Mining drones are ready for repurposing, Admiral. Just give us the word." Ilara watched in fascination as the humans coordinated their response. Unlike the hierarchical command structures of most galactic militaries, the human fleet operated more like a collective organism, with each unit adapting instantly to changing conditions while maintaining perfect coordination with the whole. "Execute Operation Shepherd," Torres commanded. What followed was unlike anything in recorded galactic military history. Instead of a frontal assault or negotiated surrender, the humans implemented a solution that no other species had ever attempted. Automated mining drones, originally designed for asteroid excavation, had been rapidly reprogrammed to serve as rescue units. They cut through the Vorak ships' hulls with surgical precision, creating new corridors that bypassed the areas where hostages were being held simultaneously. Human infiltration teams that had somehow gotten aboard the Syndicate vessels began neutralizing guards with weapons that induced temporary paralysis rather than death. The Vorak found themselves facing enemies who could appear anywhere, strike without warning, and vanish before retaliation was possible. Within 30 minutes, every hostage had been extracted without a single casualty. The Vorak, trained for conventional warfare and terrorism, had no response to opponents who treated their ships like puzzles to be solved rather than fortresses to be stormed. "This is impossible," one of the captured Vorak commanders snarled when he was brought before Admiral Torres. No species fights like this. What are you? Torres studied the grey-skinned warrior with the same analytical gaze she had used to dissect his fleet's weaknesses. We're humans, Commander. We come from a world that spent millions of years trying to kill us, so we learned to solve problems that seem impossible. Your people are very good at conventional warfare, but you've never faced opponents who refuse to accept that something can't be done. Captain Chen joined the conversation, his expression mixing sympathy with absolute resolve. Commander, your fleet is disabled but intact. Your personnel are unconscious but unharmed. We could have destroyed you completely, but that's not who we are. You have a choice to make. The Vorak officer looked around the docking bay, taking in the rescued hostages being treated by human medical teams, the disabled but undamaged syndicate ships, and the calm efficiency of the human operation. What choice? Walk away, Chen said simply. Take your ships and your people, and never threaten innocent civilians again. We've downloaded copies of all your vessel identification codes and biometric data. If any of you ever participate in slavery or piracy again, we'll find you. And next time, we won't be as gentle. And if we refuse... Admiral Torres stepped forward, and for the first time, the Vorak commander saw something in her eyes that made him understand why humans were feared across their home system. Then we'll demonstrate why Earth is classified as a death world, and you'll discover what humans are really capable of when we stop being nice. The Syndicate commander looked at his disabled fleet, his captured personnel, and the impossible rescue that had just been completed. His species had built their reputation on being the galaxy's most feared predators, but these humans had treated his entire armada like a minor inconvenience to be solved, rather than an enemy to be fought. We withdraw, he said finally, but this isn't over. The Syndicate has allies, resources. You cannot protect everyone. Chen nodded calmly. You're right, we can't protect everyone, but we can make sure that everyone knows what happens to those who prey on the innocent. Word travels fast in this galaxy, Commander. Make sure you spread the right message. As the Vorak fleet limped away with their damaged pride and disabled weapons, Research Station Harmony began returning to normal operations. But everything had changed. The galaxy now knew that humanity existed, and that they possessed capabilities that defied conventional military wisdom. Dr. Alara Voss found herself in the station's communication center, helping establish formal diplomatic contact between Earth and the Galactic Confederation. As she watched human engineers working alongside Zephyrian technicians to repair the station's systems, she realized she was witnessing the beginning of a new era. Dr. Voss, Captain Chen, approached, carrying a datapad filled with technical specifications. Admiral Torres tells me you're the expert on quantum communication theory. We could use your help establishing permanent communication links with Earth. Ilara smiled, her blue skin brightening with excitement. Captain, I would be honored. But I have to ask, how did your people develop such advanced tactical systems? Your ships, your coordination, your ability to solve impossible problems. Chen was quiet for a moment, looking out at the stars where the Vorak fleet was disappearing into hyperspace. Doctor, humanity spent most of its history fighting itself, surviving disasters that should have destroyed us, and adapting to challenges that seemed impossible. We learned that there's always a solution if you're willing to think creatively and refuse to give up. And now you're sharing that gift with the galaxy, Alara observed. Now we're sharing it with our friends, Chen corrected. And anyone who needs help has the potential to become our friend, as the human fleet prepared to return to Earth, carrying with them the gratitude of 800 rescued civilians and the beginning of a new alliance. The The galaxy began to buzz with news of the impossible rescue. Other species started to reconsider their assumptions about the small, strange beings from the death world called Earth. The Vorax Syndicate had intended to demonstrate their power by crushing a defenseless research station. Instead, they had introduced the galaxy to humanity's greatest strength, the absolute refusal to accept that helping others was impossible. It was a lesson that would echo across the stars for generations to come. As other species learned what it meant when Earth answered a call for help,